We are ready.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. The first file or bill for our consideration is House Bill 76, exception for annexation with landowner objections repeal. Go ahead, Representative Stivar, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Representative Stiver, House District 12. This is House Bill 76. It's a repealer. All I'm doing is trying to repeal paragraph C in 15-1406C. The repealer is if the 75% of more of the perimeter of the area to be annexed is contiguous to the corporation limits of the annexing city or town, the provisions of subsection B of this section do not apply. And what subsection B is if 50% or more of the landowners don't want to be annexed, they have to wait 2 years to re-annex them. This is helping our constituents and the citizens out of being annexed by people they didn't vote for. You know, and in the 2 years, if people move or they get out there and get a better knowing of what's going on, they can go back and annex them. But it's just helping the citizens out because a lot of these people buy in the county and expect to live in the county, you know, and as the city grows, you know, they still want to be in the county, but if it's 75%, I'm not taking out where if it's completely surrounded, that's a done deal. If they're completely surrounded, they're annexed with no questions. But this just gives our constituents a voice of, yes, I want to be in the city, or I don't want to be in the city.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Senator Land.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And Representative, good morning. It's good to see you. I'm sorry, I was on the run this morning and I haven't gotten a good look at 15-1406, which is what we're repealing. Can you help me just this morning to?
Here's the language in
Yeah.
C. C says if 75% or more of the perimeter of the area to be annexed is contiguous to the corporate limits of the annexing city or town, the provisions of subsection D of this section do not apply. And D says, no annexation under 15-1404 shall create an area which is situated entirely within the boundaries of the city or town, but it is not annexed. So D has to do with an island. So I guess it says, so C, help me out if I to get this right. If 75% or more of the area is contiguous, the provisions of B, not D, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've screwed this up. I apologize. B says if more than 50% of the landowners, or if a landowner or landowners owning more than 50% of the area to be annexed, file written objections with the clerk of the annexing municipality within 20 business days after the hearing under WS 15-1405A, no further action under WS 15-1404, that's annexation, may be taken on any area within the proposed annexation within 2 years. So basically, B gives you a way to stop it for 2 years. And C says, though, that doesn't apply if 75% of the area is contiguous. Would that be fair? Did I get that right? Help me, Representative Stivar.
That's the way I understand it, Senator.
Yeah, okay. So C is a safety valve to stopping annexation if there's a 75% of the land is surrounded by the city. And what Representative Stivar is proposing to do is take out that safety valve.
To help the constituents that live in that 75% area, if they don't want to be annexed with the city,
Okay.
you know, it has to stop, and then 2 years later they can come back because they're being annexed by people they didn't vote for, city council members, mayors, you know, and they're just swallowing them up. But I think they need to have a voice in that So if, 50% say we don't want to be annexed, or the landowners,
Mhm.
it stops for 2 years and then they can work on it. People move, things change. 2 years later, they can come back in and annex it.
Gotcha. Okay, any other questions? Guys think you got it?
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Go
I think I
ahead,
understand.
Senator
I
Dockstader.
think I understand it, Representative, but I'm concerned is, I see the towns trying to take care of their borders and expand further out, and it's starting to make sense over in my area more as big towns grow, but this kind of leaves them a little bit, limited on what they can do once they annex, and if there's somebody out there that's, essentially a outlier that's not gonna play with them, I'm a little concerned about that. Representative, your thoughts?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
Senator Dockstetter, that's part of it. They bought that land. They moved out there to be in the county. They don't want to be in the city. That's where this comes down to. I understand they need to expand in, your area in Lincoln County, one city annexed all the way around another little municipality. So that one little municipality cannot expand or do anything because, can I say,
You bet. You can use a proper name. We're in committee.
Okay. Kemmer annexed all the way around Diamondville. So Diamondville can never expand now. Diamondville's the same size. And, I don't know how all that went. I used to live there, but that's been too many years ago. But, some of that was probably one landowner, like in Cheyenne here or Laramie County. There's certain aspects where the Loomis Ranch signed over. It was one big continuous piece of land, and they signed it over and was annexed into the city. There's 2 other ranches out on the other side of me that were signed up and they were able to annex, but it's the smaller portions that these people have bought in the county. They're in the county and they want to stay in the county. And that's all I'm doing is giving the citizens and our constituents a right to make that decision because they're having decisions made for them by people they didn't even vote for. Like I said, city council mayors that are coming in going, we're going to annex this. Well, they didn't vote for them. They're not getting any say in the matter. And I think our constituents need to have that say is, yes, I want to be, or I don't want to be. I've talked to some of the people, they just did a 75% area here. He was paying $60 for a dumpster that got dumped every 2 weeks. $60 a month. Now he's paying $120 to have city garbage and sewer. That he's told me that it's hit and miss if they come and pick it up or not. And he still has his dumpster, but he's still having to pay the $120. And I think that's part of the problem is the citizens need to be able to make that decision if they want to be annexed or not. And like I said, I just don't want to kill it off because 2 years down the road, with the city talking to people moving or situations change, the people might want to say, yeah, let's go into the city so the city can come back and do it again. And that's why I just want to repeal paragraph C.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Stay close, Representative. We'll hear from, I don't think anybody will testify on this bill. I don't know. How about Wham? Would you guys interested in this bill? Come on up.
You're sitting a long ways back.
Yeah, they're way in the back. We were too lazy to get up front this morning. Good to see you all. Councilman, Mr. McLaren. Who goes first? Mr. McLaren?
Hitter, am I? Morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bob McLaurin with Wham. Appreciate your time this morning. We're here to oppose House Bill 76. We appreciate Representative Stivar's concerns and he makes some valid points. I grew up out in the country and the city came out to annex around my house when I was growing up, and it was not a very popular item with my father. But having said that, this bill only addresses parcels that are surrounded on three sides. So you're effectively part of the city when you're talking about these parcels. You know, when you have these municipal boundaries that cut here, hither and yon, it creates unclear borders and confusion. You know, it creates, who do you call when there's a 911 emergency? You call the county fire department, the city fire department. So in addition to, you know, creating uncertainty in who to call, it increases response times. And this also impedes the city's ability to plan and manage its borders. This is simply a way the cities can have clean borders where you know where the services are going to be provided and where they're not going to be provided. So we're opposed to the bill. Understand the concerns Representative brought forward, but it's important that cities be able to have a little bit of say about what happens on their borders. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Questions for Mr. McLaren? Senator Landon.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Thanks. Appreciate you being here. I'm trying to wrap my head around, so we have a piece of land surrounded on three sides, and maybe we have 20 families in that area. How many does it take to shut down the annexation? If we repeal this language, what if a majority of the folks in that area are just fine with the annexation? Can you help me with that? I'm sorry, I'm riding a slow horse.
Go ahead, Mr. McLaren.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Landon, if I understand the statute correctly, if it's only surrounded on two sides, 50% of the property owners can stop the annexation and it can't be considered. But if it's surrounded on three sides, the landowners do not have a formal protest like they do in subsection B. So the city can essentially force the annexation.
So we talk about three sides, but it's actually, it's not defined in terms of
75%.
side. It's defined in terms of the perimeter of the area to be annexed. If 75% of the perimeter is bounding the city, that's the way it's actually defined.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And with that, under existing law, even more than 50% of the citizens can't stop it under existing law.
That's correct.
So anything else, Mr. McLaren?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Councilman, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Dr. Mark Rinney, member of the Cheyenne City Council and also a board member for the Wyoming Association of Municipalities. As you know, annexation occurs when a piece of property is adjacent to a municipality, and it's usually a logical and a feasible extension for the city to annex it. The property is usually geographically and economically linked to the city as well. Annexation can occur in two ways: owner initiated through 15-1-403, which is the most common, or through municipality initiated, which is through 15-1-404. The owner-initiated annexations are really rare, and it makes sense to keep them, or pardon me, city annexations are usually very rare. I know in Cheyenne, we've used it until the last few years, we've used it very rarely. And it makes sense to keep them somewhat limited. However, when a area or property is 75% contiguous with a city, it also makes sense that it be included in the city. If you think about it, if you have a county pocket, those individuals probably can't go to work, probably can't go to the store unless they're using a city street. They don't have their own parks, so they're using city streets, they're using city parks. The road in front of their property probably is maintained by the city. Snow removal is done by the city. Essentially, for all intents and purposes, they use all city services and yet don't contribute like the rest of us do. Because of those annexations, but because forced annexations have been rare over the city, as City of Cheyenne has grown, we actually, up until a few years ago, had over 100 county pockets within the city. Those pockets as Mr. McLaurin alluded to, created jurisdictional problems. There were situations when our 911 center wasn't sure whether they should call the city or the county for the appropriate services. And I know of one instance where there was a residential fire in the northwest part of the city, but it was in a county pocket. The 911 call center did know to call the county fire station. However, there was a city one just a few blocks away. So by having them, and they were more than happy to be in the city, their services obviously, it was to their benefit. Interestingly, a side note, our county clerk has expressed some concerns. They said that some of our county pockets are so small that when you look at the votes for those pockets, you almost know there's no secret in who you voted for. You can almost look at that and tell who voted for whom in an election. So she was concerned about the loss of confidentiality within our elections, which is something that's prized in the United States. There are protections for people that are forced into annexation. 15-1-410A states that any use prior to annexation is legal and has been present in the previous year, then it's grandfathered in and will be allowed to continue, not only for that landowner, but for their heirs. As the city in Cheyenne, we've gone even farther because we decided, I guess I should have prefaced some of this. We decided a few years ago that because of the jurisdictional issues, we wanted to remove all the county pockets. We wanted to annex them. And over the last 3 years, we've been in the process of doing that. We are actually on our 9th iteration of that at this point. So we have gone a little farther. Normally, the city requirements when you annex are that you pay for half of your street, you pay for your curb and gutter, you attach to city water and city sewer. And honestly, the reason we didn't do a lot of forced annexations was because some of our parcels in town, when you told them they had to pay half their street and they had to put in curb and gutter, and especially on a corner lot, they wound up having to pay more than what the value of their lot was. So we delayed this forever, and finally we decided the only way we're going to do this is if we waive all those requirements. You do not have to do your street. You do not have to put in curb and gutter. You can keep your well and your septic system up until the time you decide you're going to develop it into something else, or it's sold to be developed into something else. So we have waived all those requirements to try and make this as painless as we possibly can. So I will acknowledge that being part of the municipality will cause your property taxes to go up slightly, whether it's here or in Cheyenne, although I understand Jackson has virtually no property tax. But I want to conclude by saying we believe the current annexation statutes are working well for all of us, for the municipalities, as well as the citizens. There are protections built in for the landowners, but comes a point where it doesn't make sense for a property that's 75% surrounded or more. And when those people are using all city service anyway, it makes no sense that they're not part of the municipality. So honestly, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, really the only thing that changes when a property is annexed is the color on the map. So for that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Councilman. Questions for the councilman? Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How many of these annexations do you think more than 50% disagree? Is it a common or less common? It seems like maybe the major source of disagreement would be the street and curb and gutter fees. And since you waive those, have you seen that people, their opposition goes away or not?
Mr. Chairman, as I said, we are in our 9th iteration of annexations. The second one generated some controversy. And now this last one has generated some controversy. But the other 7, there was virtually none. We had town hall meetings, at least 2 with our planning office in every area where we were going to do the annexations. We answered all the questions. For the most part, most of the people accepted it. And some were actually welcomed it.
And when you say 9 iterations, you mean 9 separate parcels?
No, Mr. Chairman, 9 sections of the community, as I said earlier on, there were over 100
Yeah.
county pockets that were 100% surrounded by the city. And that was our criteria, was if they were 100% surrounded.
Okay. How many do you have left?
After this one, none.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Who else would like to address the committee? Anybody else? Yes, sir. Welcome. Pick your seat. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name is Exie Brown. I'm a Cheyenne resident, and I'm here to stand in support of this bill. Last year, I got a phone call from several residents in a county pocket that was in my district area. They were very concerned about the forced annexation that was going to be put upon them. So I went in, started reading the statute and kind of studying that up. And one thing that I noticed in the statute that it's not necessarily a fair playing field. When you look at how that it's written, residents in the county or even businesses can ask the city to be annexed in. However, if the city wants to annex parcels of land, they don't have to get permission from the people. They can start the process with a resolution, and granted, they have their meetings, their public notices, public hearings. However, the process has already started prior to talking with the citizens and getting their permission for this. So to me, this comes down to a private property rights issue. I am going to push back on a couple of comments that were made. When you look at jurisdictional issues, we had our sheriff just recently at a city council meeting say that they've got no problem working with the city. They've already got things worked out because they're right now in the process of annexing an urban farm or a family farm and a dairy barn. And the sheriff there our sheriff here, he came right out and said, he's like, yeah, we got no problem. If one of us, if we respond or the city responds, we already have processes in place to work that out. And it just takes a simple MOU to work that out. We also had somebody from the county fire department. They responded to one of the fires that there were some jurisdictional issues with where they were concerned. They responded very quickly and they were able to work that process out. The other thing that I want to push back on is the use of streets and parks and services. So people who live in the county that work in Cheyenne, they come grocery shop in Cheyenne or do their other shopping or take their kids to the park, they're also using those services too. They're using those amenities within the city as well. So do we just push clear out to there and charge them all the fees and same fees and stuff like that? So, and I mean, I lived in the county 9-10 years ago, and we always took our kids to the parks. We always used the amenities within the city. Doesn't mean we really needed to be annexed into that. So really, this really comes down to let's level the playing field, give the people a vote, an opportunity. I mean, it only lasts 2 years anyway if they vote against the annexation. It allows the city opportunity to kind of put the horse back in front of the cart, talk with the citizens and convince them that this is the right thing for them. And it's not going to happen all the time. I mean, I would say probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, when they go to the citizens, they'll probably be like, yeah, that's sure. Go ahead and annex us in. But you are going to have those moments where they don't want to do that. So I say, let's protect the property rights. Let's give the people a vote and let's kind of level the playing field on this. So I stand on and for this bill.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Questions for the gentleman? Yes, sir. Senator Landon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Brown, thanks. Appreciate you being here. It sounds like a lot of these annexations down here, and this is a capital city issue, I can tell, but
Seems to be, doesn't it?
seems to, yeah. We've had several up in my neck of the woods and just have not run into much of the problems that I'm hearing here. Seems like several of these annexations went pretty well. And this is kind of hung up on about 1 or 2 of them. Can you describe what part of the world this is and what what's going on in that area of the county and city that, tell me a little bit more about these parcels that are to be annexed and how many people are in them? And is it just one landowner saying, no, we're just not going to do it? Or tell me about that.
So,
Mr. Brown.
thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senator Landon. So like when I was helping represent folks in my area, there were several landowners. I think there was 95 properties that they were looking to annex, and their biggest concern was the use of their land. And while the city made some concessions, and they did promise them that they would make those concessions, and unfortunately, I didn't find out about this until right before the holidays, but apparently a week after they were annexed, they already had a city official out there knocking on doors telling people what to do with their properties. And this was their concern. They wanted to be able to continue to work their properties and not be in control of the city. They were concerned about the property taxes going up, which they did. They were very happy with their services that they were receiving from a private sanitation company. The roads were being well maintained. They were very happy with that. Their concern was, hey, I bought in the county. I bought in the county for a reason. Also, how is this my fault that the city decided to grow around me? How is this my responsibility or my fault? And I have no say in the matter. We're also the city's dealing with another one right now that is annexing in this family farm and a dairy barn. Everybody who's come to speak on this issue has spoke out adamantly against it, this annexation. This is a situation too where the city has put the cart way ahead of the horse. They don't have definitions for an urban farm. They don't even have an idea of how to handle this situation with the barn and the farm. And so they're wanting to just, well, let's just force it, push it through, get it done, and then we'll figure out the rules after we've already played the game. And I think this is where a lot of this contention comes in. Not a lot of information or questions that can be answered when they're asked of the city. And so this is where we see a lot of the contention coming in with this. But it's only been, like I said, a few, a couple, 2 or 3 incidents maybe. And, for the most part, annexation's gone pretty smooth. And it, like I said, if people want to be annexed in, that's their right. They spoke up, said, yes, we want to. But when the people say, no, we don't want to be, they have that right too. But right now, there's no mechanism for them to do that.
Anybody else? Mr. Brown, would you say that most of the rub about use of land involves livestock issues, horses and stuff like that, or?
Livestock issues. Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman. Livestock issues, also agriculture, this one instance I was talking about where the city official was coming around, knocking on their door. He was growing, different kinds of crops, and he was being harassed saying, no, those are weeds. You need to take those down. So that's where some of that was coming in.
I have the same problem with the city on my place. But anybody else? Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Stay close, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else want to testify on House Bill 76 in the room? Do we have anybody online?
Mr. Chairman, Matt Murdock and Richard Bridger have both registered to testify on this bill.
Let's see if we can get them both in and just take them in turn. First come, first serve. It'd be interesting if they're from somewhere other than Cheyenne. Oh, yes, of course. Mr. Mayor, welcome. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and my excuses for not being there in person. My name is Matt Murdock, and I am the mayor of Pinedale and also the president of the Wyoming Association of Municipalities. As you've heard from Bob and Dr. Rennie, we are in opposition of House Bill 76. It limits formal protest rights when land proposed for annexation is substantially contiguous with municipal boundaries, including areas surrounded on multiple sides. And I think this point's been made multiple times, so I don't need to do it again. The provision was deliberate, though. The legislature distinguished between ordinary annexations and areas largely enclosed by a city. Under current law, if the land touches then we have to go to on 2 sides, we go to the landowners. If it touches on 3, that protest mechanism is limited because boundary alignment becomes a stronger municipal planning interest. If subsection C is repealed, that distinction disappears. Protest rights would apply even in enclosed situations, and a qualifying percentage of landowners could block annexation, even if a majority supported. Sir, this is frankly much more of a capital city problem. The other 98 municipalities are going to have to live with this decision. And I know that in the city of Cheyenne, they have been trying to make arrangements with urban farmings and definitions there. So respectfully, the annexation has never been an individual opt-in system. It is a boundary decision made by elected officials accountable to municipal voters. Once annexed, residents gain representation and voting rights. If prior representation were required, annexation could never occur. When land is surrounded on 3 sides by a city, it is fundamentally integrated with that community. Residents typically use our streets, our fire, our police, and rely on city and road systems, as has been stated. Yet when they remain outside of the city, they also are outside the tax structure. Historically, avoiding annexation has created county pockets, which you've heard about, and these unincorporated enclaves within or surrounded the city limits oftentimes can cause problems for several of us. I know in Pinedale, we have multiple ones. These pockets create operational problems. Dispatch centers face uncertainty sometimes. Boundary fragmentation also affects public safety, infrastructure planning, insurance ratings, and taxpayer equity. It does also, this repeal would encourage holdout behavior. It would increase litigation risk. It would complicate city-county coordination. It could discourage infrastructure investment and recreate service islands and shift costs from onto municipal taxpayers. So the current law strikes a balance. It preserves protest rights while recognizing that enclosed areas require predictable boundary alignment. House Bill 76 as proposed would eliminate and frankly disrupt that balance statewide. So I stand for any questions, sir, but I would ask that you vote against it.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Anybody questions for the mayor? All right, neighbors, see you in the spring. We got one more, right? Maybe?
Mr. Chairman, Richard Bridger is online. He just doesn't have his camera on.
Okay. And then the last name is Bridger?
Bridger.
Mr. Bridger, can you hear us? Mr. Bridger?
Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, great. I figured, I don't know why my camera's not working and I apologize for that.
It's
But,
okay. Introduce yourself and talk to the committee.
This is Mayor Rich Bridger, Sharon, Wyoming. And the reason I'm calling is to not support this House Bill 76. I won't belabor the point because there's been a lot of fine people that have already made the issue. But I would just say that this does create some problems. It does create jurisdictional issues with islands. Generally speaking, if we annex, we do it for a purpose. It's not just for random, just because we decide that we want to annex a certain property. It just makes our boundaries much cleaner. And so I would just reiterate that I am not in support of this and that I hope you will vote against it. And since other people have already spoken to all the points that I was going to make, I will sign off and say thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there anybody that has questions for the Sheridan Mayor? Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Anybody else want to testify on this bill? Anybody else? Committee, you've heard the testimony. What is your pleasure? We've got a motion by Boner. Discussion?
And actually, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Of Representative Stivar, in this particular circumstance where you're concerned, what would you say the total area of the perimeter that is, in contact with municipal boundaries? What would you say that percentage would be?
Go ahead, Representative.
Chairman, Senator Boner, I don't know. I'll be totally honest. Some of the things is, like I said, if it's completely surrounded, it's a pocket. I'm not touching that. Because they're surrounded. It's just that 75% around the city. I know this municipality has went out and just annexed roads to get that 75%. I have a problem with that. It's happened up on the north end of town here. I think it's called the Point. You know, because their water line runs down it. They have an easement. They don't need to annex it, but they do. But like the one area, you know, the county's taking care of it. The county's blading the road occasionally. Like out in my area, I live in the county, way south of town. County comes in at least every 6 months and grades that road. There's roads in the city of Cheyenne that are not graded. There's dirt roads right in the
Got it.
city.
Yeah,
I
we-
think he just asked you what
Right.
about the
So-
size. So
So
you're
I'm just
you're
trying
kind of
to-
trying for another bite at the apple here.
Right, no, I understand.
We're
Yeah.
wary of you house guys.
Yeah, I was just, trying to see what it would take to, find some sort of middle ground. I'm wondering if we, instead of deleting the provision altogether, we say it's 85% or something like that. Representative, what did you think of that?
Representative?
I just never really thought about that. I just read the statute and went, okay, this is what, to give our constituents a voice within what happens to their properties, it comes up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Appreciate it. Senator Landon, you
Mr.
gonna take a
Chairman.
shot at the representative or are you?
No,
can he
by
go
golly,
back?
I'm gonna let him off the hook.
Okay, thank you, Representative.
Just by way of discussion, I appreciate the representative bringing this, and I know that we often have constituents with issues that they want to be represented. I just feel like this is a difficulty that's going on here in the capital city. It's not something we've really run into in my neck of the woods much at all. Our local governments tend to work that out. I'm feeling pretty reluctant to throw a blanket over the entire state over an issue that took place, here in one town. So,
Do you think the Cheyenne issue is caused by the wind turbines?
it could be. We never had wind like that until we put those turbines. up.
I know. Okay, anybody else? You want to try
Sure.
amendment?
We'll see what happens. I say we delete the repealer and instead go into 15-1-406C, delete 75 and insert 85.
Okay. Senator Landon, do you think you could go for that or? I don't have any direction from my other senators, so
Right.
we kind of need a unanimous if we're going to move something like that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd probably no on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think you don't have it. so-
Okay.
But you can try it on the floor.
Okay.
Maybe. Anything else on the bill? How about calling the roll on the bill?
Mr. Chairman, this is a roll call vote for House Bill 76. Senator Boner.
Aye.
Senator Dockstader.
He left a proxy of no.
Senator Landon.
No.
Senator Steinmetz.
She's excused.
Chairman Case.
Aye. Looks like it's failed. Thank you, Representative. At least we made you wait till the end. All right, the next bill for our consideration is House Bill 84, falsifying election documents. Mr. Secretary, welcome. Do you want to contact somebody, Ms. Secretary?
Well, I know someone testified, didn't believe that they signed up from the time required, so.
Can you tell who signed up and
Mr. Chairman, Mark Kep has registered, so he should have the link theoretically.
is there a way you could resend him the link right now?
Absolutely. Do you have an email address for?
I will, no, I don't, but
I
I'll,
bet one of us does.
um,
Mr. Chairman, I should
Yeah.
Did you say representative? Pat?
I'll text
No,
him too.
Mr. Kemp.
Oh, Mr. Camp, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah.
Let's just take a breath and see if we can get it out there and. Pardon?
Great, really fantastic. Trying to work 18, 19 hours a day, just loving it.
Well, you'll soon be rid of us. You'll be glad of that.
So the secretary used to live about 2 blocks from me. And
We're still online. If you, go ahead, it's okay.
anyway, it's
Yeah.
completely above the board. It was just, yesterday was really pretty. It was.
Oh, was it?
It's,
Oh, in
55
Casper.
degrees.
Yeah.
Ah, I love this time of year.
Yeah.
Just love it.
It's just
Just love it.
great to get outside.
I think it's kind of unusually nice.
Yeah.
We're
all starting to work. a little bit.
we're freaking out.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, we're hoping for rain today.
That's that stuff that falls out of the.
Yeah,
Right.
it was going straight down too. It's weird.
Really?
I barely ran.
How we doing, Jesse? Think he's got it?
Mr. Kep has been sent the link.
Okay,
All right.
Not online yet, but he's got the mechanism to do so.
Thank you.
go ahead, Mr. Secretary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is House Bill 84, which was 26 LSO 249 is the LSO designation, falsifying election documents. This is another great bill from the Weston County experience, trying to continue to augment our statutes, make it a little more specific with some issues that occurred in that experience. And what it does is it just makes clear under 22-26-107, it adds to the falsifying election documents, submitting a false post-election ballot audit to the Secretary of State. I support this bill in placing it in the felony section of the code in 22-26-101 that in terms of submitting a false post-election audit. I do want to make clear that I believe there's a widespread agreement on this, that submitting a false or fraudulent document is already a felony under the election code. And also in the blanket section of the code, but also in 6-5-308, which makes it a felony to file with the Secretary of State and willfully or knowingly falsify, conceal, or cover up by any trick, scheme, or device a material fact. And then it continues with other Romanettes. So it is already a felony under the code. I think it's very important to add that caveat, but I think it's always important to provide notice. And I think this does that, and it just makes it even clearer.
Okay, questions for the
So we
Secretary?
support the bill.
Any questions? Mr. Secretary, I'm sorry, Senator Boner.
Yeah, so just a little bit more background on this situation with Weston County. What was the discussion like then? If this is likely a felony, was that considered seriously, or was there any discussion about that at all? What did that look like?
Go ahead, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was at the Casper meeting discussion. I said the same thing at the Casper meeting in the interim, and I think the room came around to just going ahead with the bill, but there was discussion about it and whether it was necessary, because I think it is already a felony. I want to be very clear on that. And I think it's actually in 2 places in the code. It's in the blanket section of the statute, in Title 22, blanket violation by an election official, and then also in Title 6, specific to filings with our office. That's the one I kind of started reading off. So it's 6-5-308A. It's just a policy choice on whether this should be amortized or not, or whether it should fall into the blanket section of the code. I support it.
And Mr. Secretary,
Go ahead.
what was the 22 reference that's not in 22-26? Title 22.
Mr. Chairman, that's just a willful violation of the election code by an election official, and I can get that for you, but
Okay.
I believe it's,
22-26-101, right?
22-26-101. Okay, I'll take a look at that. Senator Landon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Secretary, would you have, in a situation like this, if we pass this, would you as the secretary have any discretion if there were just common human error? In other words, you pick up on something, would you have the ability to call the county clerk in Fremont or Sublette or wherever and say, hey, we picked up on something, did you really mean to put this in there? Or does it tie you as the Secretary of State's hands, putting language that you submit a false audit and it's a felony. Any thoughts about that? I mean, do you have any discretion?
Go ahead, Mr. Secretary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. All of our statutes, first of all, I don't prosecute, so I wouldn't be prosecuting the felony. It would be a prosecutor either in Laramie County or the county where the audit was found or was submitted, presumably virtually. And so be subject to the complaint process where I can forward a complaint that is submitted to our office to the local prosecutor or the relevant jurisdiction prosecutor. That's already there. But I assume a prosecutor, as with all our statutes, would engage in a mens rea analysis and think about what the facts are around the case. If anything, my experience from elections has been that there has been a extreme reluctance to prosecute on election cases. So I think if anything, I mean, it's been very few because I think, and that's pointed out sometimes, but I think a lot of that is because of just how heavily discretion is used, not necessarily because there aren't issues. And so I think the track record has been that these sorts of statutes, there's a heavy amount of discretion used, heavy amount of analysis on what happens. And again, in terms of the existing felony, it has to be knowingly.
Senator Landon?
So, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just, Mr. Secretary, thank you. That's a good reminder that really all the secretary can do is forward that to law enforcement officials, and they would make that determination of whether it rises to the level of whether they want to take it anywhere else or, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, one
Go ahead.
follow-up. This is getting rolled into 22-26-107. So it would have to be with the intent to deceive or mislead.
Right.
If you look at A, it's the intent is there as well, the intent aspect.
Fair enough. Anybody else? Mr. Secretary, Mr. Rubino, do we consider this post-election ballot audit to be an election document as covered under 22-26-101? Or is, because 22-26-101, that I appreciate you giving me the reference. Under A, Romanet 6, well, A says the following acts in connection with or related to the election process or an election, if knowingly and willfully committed, are felony offenses punishable by not more than 5 years imprisonment, a fine of not more than $10,000 or both. There's a list. Within the list is falsifying election documents. And it has the same knowingly and willfully. And so it's like, if a post-election audit is an election document, which sounds to me like it is, then this bill's a little bit redundant, belt and suspenders kind of thing. I'm just making that point. Appreciate any comment.
You can go ahead if you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to take the first stab and then the secretary can always mop up after me. But, you know, I think it's important to note the parallel language, identical language in the catch title of 22-26-107, which is what this does. I mean,
Right.
I think it's reasonable to assume it's within the same chapter of the title. It cross-references, and although there isn't a specific cross-reference to a section, falsifying election documents, 6 chapters down, 22-26-107, falsifying election documents says falsifying election documents consists of performing any of the following acts, and it actually amortizes the list of acts. So
Right.
I think it may be arguable, but I think that it's a lot safer to say that it with respect to the policy decision, that's a different question. But I think that it's definitely, if this is the policy, it's not currently covered.
Mr. Secretary?
But again, you also have the blanket violation of the election code by a by an election official. And that's a different reference.
Is that the one in?
That's 22-26-119, excuse me, 119. And that's the one that in the election code that we think covers it anyway. But I still supportive of the bill. I just think it's very important for a lot of reasons to note that the existing code does cover this issue,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think I'm with you on that. Just committee, 22-26-119 is violation of election code by officials. It says violation of the election code by an official consists of the willful violation of the election code by any official or by any deputy or assistant official, or the willful failure or refusal of any official or assistant to perform an act or duty required of him by the election code. Any official, deputy, or assistant who commits a violation of the election code is guilty of felony. In addition to the penalty prescribed by 22-26-101, we talked about that one, is subject to removal from office in a proceeding instituted for that purpose. So there are things covering. Any further questions for the Secretary or Senator Boner?
Thank you, sir. So yeah, just going back to the background. So was there any discussion as to any of those prosecutors even thinking about bringing a felony, or are we going to rely on the fact that there's currently a process to remove the clerk that seems to be contemplated under 119? I'm just trying to assess whether the statutes are operative, if you will, in this situation, if there was no even discussion of pursuing a felony. I'm just wondering if what we're talking about theory is translating to real life, or was in the last election cycle.
Ms. Secretary.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I want to be really careful here. We got an active case where there's removal for a clerk. We've got attempts to bring in the Natrona County DA on criminal issues. That's gotten interesting up there. There's been some reporting on it. I believe it is covered currently. I still think, though, just to make it clear, why would we not do this? As long as we're making clear that this isn't, and that's why I wanted to add that caveat. I don't see why we wouldn't want to do this, probably to make it even clearer. But there's a lot of things going on this. It took a long time. There's a removal aspect, there's criminal aspect, all of which are ongoing.
Okay. Anybody else? He's on? Mr. Kemp? Hang close. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Kemp, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
And thank you to LSO for doing the extra effort to allow me to get on here. I don't know what's going on, but I had to switch an email address. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this bill.
Can you introduce yourself, sir?
My name is Mark Kepp. I'm a resident of Crook County. I'm from Sundance, specifically calling in regard to House Bill 84. The reason I'm in support of this bill, and the reason I'm in support of this bill is one of my roles is I'm the chairman of the Republican Party up in Crook County, and some of our representatives their elections are impacted by Weston County. And I've been closely connected to the Weston County issue, and I'm troubled by the overall process. I think this bill makes it simpler. I do worry that it does add criminality, right, to signing documents, which is a challenge. And I think overall in our elections, that is a challenge. The election machines are complex. The elections are complex. But I believe this bill adds good language overall to help support election integrity. And so I support this bill. I just want to provide you with that public comment. I'll stand for any questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Anybody else? Mr. Kemp, I have one fear that we are, sometimes when we're overly specific about violations, then I'm worried that prosecutors in the courts will look at the specificness of that violation. And if it's something we have two approaches. We can either approach it with a general umbrella, or we can very precisely hit each individual violation. And when you have a list of violations, you run a risk that if something's not in there, you lose the impact of the general umbrella. And I'm a little bit worried about that because there are several instances in the code that talk about illegal acts, but they're not specific. And then we have this one section that's going to start being very specific. And I wonder if that might trip us up and actually cause us problems. It's more of a general question than a specific, but this is a very specific piece of paper. And I would bet that county clerks and other election officials sign hundreds of pieces of paper, and that we don't list out all those pieces of paper that they're responsible for. And I'm a little bit worried about that. Help me with this.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd agree. And I think one of the challenges within our election process is that the election machines we use are actually highly complex. It's a very complex system. And what the clerks do every 2 years is very complex. And so I would agree. And one of the challenges I have on this is that, if they inadvertently just make a mistake and then they sign a document and then they've all of a sudden created a criminal risk for themselves that could be used politically or whatnot, I think that is dangerous. As you well know, I'm a big proponent of hand counts because I believe that actually streamlines the process. This bill, though, did come out of committee, and so it was reviewed at that level. And obviously, you have a chance to submit amendments to it. I think the overall intent is good, and so I believe. I don't know. It's a challenge, and I think that giving it good thought on your end is important. So I understand where you're coming from, sir, and I both support the bill, but also agree with what you're explaining. Thank you,
Mr. Kemp. Appreciate you very much. Any other questions from Mr. Kemp? Thank you. Stand by. We're gonna hear from anyone in the room. Ms. Herman, you're declining. Oh, do you see what I did, you guys? Come on up. We got lots of time. We'd love to hear from you, Ms. Herman.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I really wasn't going to say anything, but I would agree with you that adding that list kind of gives the implication that it's exhaustive, that everything that should catch the attention of the prosecutors is on that list, and it's not. And I think it's unnecessary. I think the Weston situation has been very generous in lending itself to legislation this session. Not all of it absolutely important. It doesn't do any harm, except, as you mentioned yourself, the implication is that if it's that list is getting very specific and very tight, and so if something comes to the attention, it'll go on the list again. There'll be another occasion, and then ad infinitum. But anyway, I'm sorry, Marguerite Herman, League of Women Voters. Sorry to launch into that. We do not oppose the bill, obviously, but except for the couple of concerns you mentioned there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Herman? Thank you. And does anybody see any clerks in the audience? Oh, yes, sir. Are you a clerk? No. Oh, okay. Well, any clerks online? Interesting. Anybody else wish to testify on this bill? Anybody else? Committee, you've heard the testimony. What is your pleasure? Motion by Landon. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I always appreciate the process and this, especially here in committee, and really just appreciated what you brought up because I hadn't thought about that. That you specify, one of these items, and does it diminish the others? And so I'll be thinking about that. But to me, this I'll support the bill. I don't think underlining this particular grievance is a bad idea necessarily. It's kind of a we really mean it bill, so I think I can support it.
Okay, anybody else want to make a statement? Senator Bonner.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Sherman. Appreciate the point about having just this oddly specific things in statute. Reminds me of my time in the military where you had this very specific thing in the regulations, do not use nuclear weapons to troubleshoot faults. Somebody did it at some point, but if you look to your point, if you look at 107, it's already fairly specific. We've kind of already went down that road. And so, if we want to consider a future bill that would kind of take a different route, I think that may be prudent. But as it is now, it looks like we already do have a fair amount of specificity, maybe not quite as much as we have right here, but a fair amount in those first four Romanets. So for that reason, I think I'll support the bill.
Okay. Currently, there are 4 subpoints to 107. Printing and distributing false instructions, printing and distributing and displaying false ballots. It goes on a little bit more. 3 is defacing, altering, forging, making false entries, or in any way changing any petition, certificate, or nomination. 4 is preparing or submitting a false certificate of nomination, registration, record, or election return. So, anybody else? Why don't we call the roll on this bill?
Mr. Chairman, this is a roll call vote on House Bill 84. Senator Boner,
Aye.
Senator Dockstetter,
Aye.
Senator Landon,
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz,
Aye.
Chairman Case.
No.
Mr. Chairman, that's 4 aye, 1 no.
Gotta love this committee. Do we get somebody from management audit to try to carry it on the floor, or? Let's try to find someone. That'd be fun. That'd be good for them. All right. I don't think we have anything else. The only thing hanging out is that one bill, there's a conference committee on Senate File 28. That was the one where we added amendments about who could be in the room, and that was Senator Steinmetz. You came up with the amendment on that in the end. Oh, wait, we took it.
I think so.
Help me with
Chairman, that was a committee amendment, but I just added back in the political parties and independent candidates because we had confined it to 3 people. So the amendment I made on the floor is still in. I reviewed that over the weekend.
So they took out the committee amendment.
They took out the committee
Yeah.
amendment.
And so the House has all week to think about this. They could easily recede from their non-concurrence. They could do that, and we could put the bill in law if they think it's that big of a deal. If you guys insist that we want to meet and try to work it out, of course I'll go with you, but my inclination is just to leave it alone.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I wouldn't mind meeting with them. I mean, what harm could it do at the end of the day?
Mhm. How about you other guys? I think you might be the only one.
Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at our schedule. It looks like we haven't voted since it's a Senate file. We'd have to vote to concur or not concur. I don't think we've done any concurrences at all yet.
Oh,
And
we
so we
have
might-
done a couple, but
Okay.
I mean, if we don't put it up for the concurrence vote, the bill still exists as it leaves it in the realm of the House. They could recede from non-concurrence, which would make that concurrence vote unnecessary, and they could adopt our bill. It's still within their court in that aspect. So even if we don't move forward on the conference committee, they still have an avenue to pass the bill.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
help me understand because you've been here longer than I have. I would think we would have to vote not to concur because they sent it down to us amended. They don't concur. It's just if we don't concur. Do you know what I'm saying? I think the bill will die if we don't take any action, because what action can they take? They're not the ones that are being asked to concur. They sent the bill to us in final form. So I believe if we don't, and maybe we need to investigate that
Let's
further,
do.
but my
I think you make a
understanding-
fair point, Senator.
Yes, thank
A
you.
very fair point. It's because they don't have a tool. We would have the tool. So in that case, we should give them the tool probably. So let's check it out and then go from there. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Senator.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman, when is our discussion on interim topics? Can
It's
you-
tomorrow at noon.
Tomorrow noon.
I'm not sure what noon means, whether, I assume you could grab some lunch real quick and where's it going to be, Jesse?
It'll be in Public Meeting Room 6, Mr. Chairman, or,
The bigger one.
yes, right down here.
And so have the committee members been provided a potential list, or is that coming today?
Mr. Chairman, I believe I can prepare that today.
Yeah, so I've seen a list that has every member's total, but just sorted out the things that are going to corporations would be helpful.
I haven't given you mine.
Okay. You missed the deadline.
Yeah.
Well, they also wouldn't let me do it.
Well, wait a
but-
minute, you told me I couldn't. So what?
No, I don't.
Huh?
I think we'll entertain anything at the meeting tomorrow. That's fair enough. Okay, well, I don't have anything else. I think,
Chairman, are we setting up a time for Hood Sports Center's time that's in our efforts?
yeah, I'll go straight to LSO, and I think she makes a good point. And so maybe we'll have to do it. And I would encourage the committee, if we put it up for concurrence, which it sounds like we will, to vote no for concurrence, and then we'll see what happens. Okay? But otherwise, the bill just dies. That doesn't sound too bad to me. But anyway, okay. Jesse, anything else you got? Appreciate all your work. This might be our last committee meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Good
Yeah,
job.
we really appreciate you. You've been just a joy. And she's going to be with us during the interim. That's going to be great.
It's awesome.
All right, everybody. Well, enjoy your day.